Hi, I'm PMR. I'm a Sony artisan of imagery. Today I wanted to talk to you about my very favorite setup for doing street photography. Let's get into it. So my easy favorite camera to shoot street photography with is the a7C. There's a lot of reasons for this. Number one, it is so lightweight. It's smaller than the Fuji APS-C cameras, and yet it's full frame, so it's huge. That part is big. Full frame is always going to be better than a smaller crop sensor camera. It just is. It's going to be better for gathering light when there's low light. And remember, this camera has the a7 III sensor in it, so low light is not a problem already. But once you put full frame glass on it, it really sucks the light in. It's great. Another thing about it is it has an EVF. I really have tried the ZV series cameras because they're tiny and even lighter than the a7C, but they are APS-C and they don't have an EVF. And so I like being able to shoot, through the camera and actually see what I'm doing rather than just look at the back screen. One of the other things I love about the a7C is it has a flippable, changeable back screen, which means I can take the non-screen side and I can close it so that I'm not banging. Like if I'm walking for a couple miles in New York City and I'm doing street photography and I'm wearing a jacket with a zipper, which you'd be doing right now for sure, I'm not tearing up my LCD as I'm walking. And I'm typically just using the viewfinder for everything I'm doing anyway because I'm judging exposure through the EVF. So I really like the fact that I can protect my back LCD at all times when I'm out and I'm shooting in the street. For left eye photographers like me, I'm a left eye shooter, I love the fact that the top of the camera is completely flat. Unlike the A1 or the A7 series, the rest of them, this is the only A7 camera that doesn't have that popped up like pentaprism thing, even though it's not a pentaprism. And what that means for a left eye shooter is that I can see with my right eye as I'm looking through the viewfinder with my left eye. And that means I can watch something develop in the viewfinder. People walking, juxtaposition against a sign or a bus. Now for right eye shooters, the a7C is awesome because instead of the viewfinder being dead center in the middle of the camera, it's way over here on the right. And so you have a completely unimpeded view of what you're shooting as you're seeing what you're shooting in the right eye. So this is a huge advantage of the a7C, but the biggest advantage of the a7C is its lack of weight. The a7C body with a battery in it and a card, so like with media and a card, is 1.1 pound. That's all this thing weighs. If you add this 28-60 lens, which is a kit lens, one of the options for a kit lens to the camera, this thing only weighs 5.7 ounces. So let's just call it 6 ounces because I put a filter on it too. So the combination of these is less than 1.5 pounds with a card and a battery in it and a filter on the lens. So this is just like a great way to work. Also, this is sort of a pancake-ish lens, even though it's a zoom. It has a stop for storage position, and then when you move it off of that, you actually get the range of the zoom here. And then when you're finished shooting, you can just pull it back in and the camera's form factor gets really tiny. So this lens it seems like when you're looking at it online or in a catalog or something like that, it seems like a slug because it's slow. It's an f4 to 5.6 lens, and it's only going from 28-60. But here's the deal. 28-60 is the prime, those are all the prime focal lengths. That whole range of zoom is exactly what you want for street photography. So the 28-60 kit lens on the camera is a really, really nice, compact, lightweight way to go. Also, when you buy the lens in a kit with the body, you get $200 off the lens. So it's $500 normally, and that should tell you what kind of quality the lens is. This is a really high-end lens, even though it's a kit lens and it's a zoom with a relatively slow aperture. But if you're looking for something lightweight and really, really sharp, this is the answer. I'm a photographer with a lot of gear. I do so many different things, and I also do video production as well. So I have a lot of glass that would be not typical for most shooters. Most shooters that do landscape have the wide zooms, and that's pretty much it. Maybe they have a 7200 Sports photographers like me, we have 600 f4, 400 2.8, we have the 2:6, we have the 7200, and then we have the fast primes. Portrait shooters are going to be more 135 to 50 millimeter in their range, but I do pretty much everything. But over the last 6 months, I've been assembling what I think is the best kind of setup for shooting street photography. And the Compact Prime lenses are a phenomenal value, and they're really lightweight. So I often go out with these two lenses to go and shoot street photography. This is the 24 2.8 and the 40mm 2.5. These are both Compact Primes. They are not lenses that a lot of people would discover unless somebody turns you on to them. These lenses are phenomenally good. They're good for video. They're silky smooth. They autofocus. They have the double linear autofocus motors, just like the 400 2.8 does, just like the 51.2 GM, and yet they're super, super lightweight. This 24mm is 5.7 ounces, and that's with the hood on it. The 40mm G is 6.1 ounces, and has this really kind of cool, funky lens shade. It's kind of a different design, but it really does block all the light. And it's more compact and doesn't grab things like so many of them do. Also, people don't always realize that the lens shade itself has a filter ring on it. So you can add a filter to this, or you can do a filter from the inside here. It's a 49mm filter on the inside, and then if you use the shade, I believe it is also a 49. So you could have a skylight filter or UV filter on all the time, put this on over it, and then you could also have ND or whatever you want to do. So these lenses are really cool. But the pair of these is kind of my primary way to shoot. I do love this. I love the concept of the tiny zoom, and if I'm packing and I'm just adding an extra, if I have a little bit of extra room, I might do this, but typically, I'm going to like the primes better. They autofocus super fast. Both of these lenses are really, really sharp, and they pair up so well. And you might say, oh, 24 is a little wide for doing street photography, and that's true. I think most people are going to gravitate towards a 35. However, it depends on what type of street photography you're doing. If you're in New York City, there's typically very broad sidewalks. They're big. But if you're in a smaller town or an older city, the sidewalks are more narrow and there's not as much room to back up. And so a 24 becomes extremely useful sometimes. The 40 is a favorite of mine. It's an ancient, the 40mm lens it's not a very popular one, but it's a super sharp lens. I really love the look of this. It's fabulous. Now I'm going to put on the 55, the venerable, we'll call it venerable, because in Sony years, it's about 30 years old. Sony years are like dog years. There's like 7 years to each 1 year of human life. And so the 55-1.8 is still a favorite lens of mine, even though I own the 50-1.2 G Master. This lens is smaller, lighter. It is a little bit big on an a7C, as you can see, but it's so sharp. It has the Zeiss optics in it, and I just love this lens. This lens has a unique look. I love using this lens in New York City where they have those wide sidewalks. It's a great way to go. It's just, if you get a picture out of focus with this lens, it is your fault. No one else's but yours, because it's really, really sharp. And I would also kind of enjoy the combo of the 24 2.8 with the 55. Like, that would be a nice way to work too. And one of the most important things is when I do street photography, I don't want to carry a camera bag. I don't even want to have like a butt bag. What I want is a lens I can put in a pocket of a jacket or even my jeans. And these lenses easily fit into a jeans pocket, no big deal. Now my last option for doing street photography, which is kind of fun, if you're in a sort of, non-traditional mood, is the LensBaby. This is the LensBaby Composer Pro. I really love using this. I have the Sweet 35 lens on it. Now this is a lens that has apertures, so you don't have to do the old like washer thing with the rubber deals. But this is a cool thing because you can change the plane of focus to wherever you want. And you can do extreme selective focus similar to the movements on a 4x5. So you can do swing and tilt kind of to your heart's delight. But what I love about this lens is doing street photography, you can pick out something that you want to make the most important part of the frame, and you can put focus on only that element or subject, and then you can blow the doors off the focus everywhere else. This is a bokeh machine, and I typically don't shoot it wide open. This is a 2.5, but I love to shoot it at 2.8. 2.8 just gives you just enough sharpness where you want it to be absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to put a video in the description area where I shot the Sweet 50mm up in Toronto just a few weeks ago, and shot all these pictures with just the a7C and the Sweet 50. That was cool. But I really do prefer the 35. It's a great lens. Now, a lens that's this small with a camera that's this small deserves a strap that's also very small and simple and lightweight. And as you can see, everything I own pretty much has a Peak Design strap lug on it, except for the a7C. Because even the Peak Design straps are like too big and heavy duty for this camera. It doesn't have any weight to it. So I really like, this is an Optex strap. And again, I'll put the link in the description below, but I really love this strap in particular for the a7C. This is not a camera that's going to typically get the 7200 2.8-2 or the GM2. It's going to be usually primes or wide, and so this strap is great. And again, I can make it really small, and I can just walk, and it has a little bit of rubber on it. The rubber part of the foam, if I want to shoot video, what's really cool about this is I can pull against the strap slightly and get really nice stabilization naturally with my hands and my body. So, there's a really nice way to work here where you can kind of do small dolly moves if you're really good at heel and toe. This is a neat way to work without having a gimbal. Because sometimes you want to shoot mostly stills, but you do want to catch some video as well. And this is a great answer. The strap helps me do that. So, but ultimately, I think that the a7C, I'm going to go back to the 40. I think the a7C and the 40mm 2.5, this is a fantastic way to work. There's just hardly any weight at all. Now, the combination of the 40 and the lens and the battery and the card and the strap is less than 1.5 pounds. And remember, we're talking about full frame here. This is not an APS-C sensor. This is a tiny itty bitty little box, and it is so fast and quick to use. It has an 11 frame per second motor drive that continually does autofocus. It's just a really overachieving camera. And for me, it is the best camera for street photography on the planet right now. I just don't see anything better than this. So I don't know if you agree or disagree, but put your comments below. I love to kind of interact with people on YouTube, so I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you're doing street photography with the a7C, let me know about it. If you're doing it with something else, let me know about that too. If there's a lens that you prefer, that's something I didn't mention here, let me know your thoughts about that. The 35-2.8 Zeiss comes to mind. It's really a cool lens, and pancake and all that, but I really like the new technology and the autofocus of the new Compact Primes. And by the way, there is a 50mm 2.5 Compact Prime as well. I don't have it yet, but it's hard because it'll have to go up against the 55. And well, I haven't shot it yet, so maybe this will finally find its way to eBay. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, and let me know your comments down below. And also my affiliate links are below as well. If you don't have a local camera store, I always encourage people to buy local, but if you don't have one in your city or town, I recommend bedfords.com. They're out of Arkansas and Oklahoma. They're really, really good people. They have a special deal with me where I can get you 5% off your sales tax. And that's applied after they ship the equipment to you. So basically just credit your credit card back 5% of the sales tax. And they're really nice people to work with. So if you don't have a local camera store, try Bedford's, see if they can help you too. But by all means, if you have a local camera store, please support that camera store in your city or town. I'm Pat Murphy-Racey, Sony Artisan of Imagery, saying thanks so much for watching.